Welcome to the Jersey Justice Podcast, featuring your hosts, attorneys Gerald Clark and Mark Morris.
One of the things I was thinking about, Andrew, was like with the whole beach access thing and people across the country laughing at us Jersey people because because of these beach badge things. There's so many different games that whether municipalities, towns, people will play to essentially try to take the beach for themselves. What was the guy's name in 1821?
Arnold.
Arnold came up with let's charge him with trespassing. You know, that's the game they came up with. And then the biggest game that's been come up with is beach badges. And one of the things that the Public Advocate did, it was like 1976, is these towns were charging back then, I think it was like $14 a day for a beach badge, which in 1976 was like an exorbitant amount. So the Public Advocate came in, the Office of the Public Advocate, sued the beach towns, similar to what you did in the Deal situation for fairness for the people. And the courts overturned those beach badges, and then the beach badge prices, the daily badges, went down to like $3. And then I remember they went up to $5. You know, this was in the 80s and stuff. It was more like $2 or $3 in the 80s, and that's what the Public Advocate did. But a lot of this is about, there's all different games that they play to deny people access and to essentially take this beautiful spiritual resource for themselves. And another thing they do is parking. You know, restrict parking. You know, well, hey, we don't need your parking prices. We'll just say no parking. And I know in Monmouth Beach, for example, they got this long strip, this enormous wall, this like crazy jetty wall, which blocks the view of the beach. You know, I don't know who came up with that idea. But then they have this long strip on Ocean Avenue with a lot of room on each side and no parking all the way. And then, okay, well, I'll park in the side street. No, you can't park in the side street anywhere in Monmouth Beach. And in my opinion, that's just a way for Monmouth Beach to take that beach for themselves, similar to Deal, what you were saying. So it's funny, you know, that the states are different. And Hawaii, and then here's another game they play to take the beach for themselves. Let's say you have like a beach club or something, or a hotel on the beach. What's a game, see if you can get this one, Mark. What's a game they play to prevent people from sitting on the beach?
They have specific chairs just for that club, and they give the illusion that it's a private beach that no one else is allowed at.
Right.
Hotels. And they have an access point that's under the boardwalk or something.
Yeah, hotels will do that. Or they'll limit access points. So to get onto this beach, you got to walk way far, unless you're an adjacent owner, and then you can come across your dune, your personal dune for the beach. So those are games that they play. So the way, you know how Hawaii dealt with hotels putting chairs and umbrellas out and saying you can't sit on these chairs?
They said basically anyone's allowed to sit there, right?
Exactly. So in Hawaii's got a law that says if you put a beach chair out, anyone is allowed to sit in it.
Love that.
And then there's another law in California. In California, there's a law that says a wave is a valuable natural resource. A breaking wave is considered a valuable natural resource, like water or oil or whatever. And if any development is going to be done near the beach that's going to in any way affect a wave, whether build a pier or beach replenishment or build a jetty, there has to be a whole environmental impact statement as to the pros and cons and the cost-benefit analysis of affecting or destroying a breaking wave. And it's considered a valuable natural resource for surfing. So these are different cultures and philosophies that the different states have. And look, I love New Jersey. I grew up in New Jersey. And it ain't all bad. Jersey's a great place. The beaches are beautiful. And as I said, you have Puerto Rico where it's anarchy, or you have Jersey where it's highly regulated. But look, the beaches are beautiful, really nice. And Jersey's access is not that bad. I was up in Rhode Island recently, and Rhode Island's beautiful too. But Christ, to try to find an access to get onto the beach, there was this one beach, it was like a beautiful beach, and they have this enormous fence like the whole way. Like, how do you get on this beach?
Yeah, we just were up in Maine, and it's the same thing. First of all, to find an actual beach and then to access it, it's wild.
Yeah, they have hardcore groups of citizens that have organized up in Rhode Island now because of all the access issues up there. And I just want to point out too, there are all these games that municipalities can play and private landowners can play, but not every time we're dealing with bad actors. Sometimes people just don't know the law, or they're doing what's in the best interest of someone that's complaining to them. But ultimately, there needs to be better education as to what qualifies as a public beach access point. Where can the public access the beach? What rights do we have? And what is the public trust doctrine? That's something that has never really been at the forefront, but really needs to be pushed in the future, I think.
And what's the solution? Like, what's your message to the public? Is it like write your legislator? Is it like, peaceful sit-in? Like,
yeah, so I mean, just on the day-to-day, if you see something, you can always call the DEP. It's 1-877-WARN DEP, Warren DEP. You can get a case number, and they will investigate. But ultimately, if there's a bigger issue...
Just make sure you put that in the show notes. That we're going to put that in some of the links in it for people to get involved. But
ultimately, if there's a bigger issue and the DEP for some reason doesn't get involved, you just have to organize, write to the Office of the Attorney General, and write to the your local and state legislators.
No, I was going to say, because we sit here and we say, all right, hey, we all understand the public trust doctrine to say this. We see there's a municipal ordinance that we think may be at odds with what the public trust doctrine says. You've got this situation where there's a surfer who's arrested, in theory, when he seems to be within his rights under the public trust doctrine. And then there's an officer who thinks he's following the law by enforcing a municipal ordinance that might not line up with the public trust doctrine. So we sit here and we talk about it, but what ultimately is the solution or the way to try and approach a solution?
I feel like if the surfer said public trust doctrine or cited NJSA 34 : whatever, he would have gotten choked out harder and sooner. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think the police officer would have liked that.
Yeah, I mean, well, the officer in the video, it looks like he's citing the ordinance. He's citing, the NJSA 40, which allows the municipalities
the beach fee statute.
Yeah, charge beach fees. So it could have turned into a, intellectual debate on the doctrine and the ordinances.
Well, also, Mark, because you're on the side of the officer and everything in this one.
Yeah, I guess the one half of the blood in me is.
No, I'm saying. So with you saying, look, again, we won't go back over this territory, but like in a perfect world, there's that one Bruce Springsteen song where I think he talks about African Americans being shot or something and be afraid to go out on the street, and he's singing the song and he's in the person of his mother, the kid's mother. I think it was an African American family or kid. Like, don't go out on the street. You keep your head down. You keep,
Yeah, and I fully get that.
Of course,
the spot I'm talking from is, again, son of a police chief. Like, I get pulled over. I know I have a brass-plated PBA card in my wallet. Like, my interaction with the police officer is probably way different than.
And New Jersey's history of police brutality, in my opinion, has been very low compared to other states, and we really don't, have that many police brutality horror stories. Most cops, I think, are great, awesome people, put their lives on the line for us, and they serve the public. And just like any other profession, a bad situation or one officer having a bad day or just a bad apple shouldn't ruin it for everyone,
Totally. And what I struggle with, I guess, with this interaction
what I was getting at, sorry, Mark.
That's all right.
I only interrupt you because I have a terrible train of thought, and then it pops in. But what I was getting at is, we're kind of lucky to live in a state and a Jersey where our police brutality issue that's gone viral is a surfer getting thrown down in the sand, as opposed to some of the horror stories we've heard in other parts of the country. So we have to look at all this in perspective, I think.
I totally agree. And again, I know I keep taking the kind of political middle of the road, but I genuinely, I'm not taking sides on it. But from the officer's perspective, and I think I look at it from being a lifeguard and having dealt with, and I was talking with Jerry and I think Andrew too, like off record, I asked if he'd ever worked at the beach, because you get to the end of the season, everybody is fried. Like if you start out, it's May, you're like, I'm so pumped, this is great. I think of the example of a swimmer goes out near the jetty. In May, it's like, hey, come here. Hey, you can't swim out there. Jetty, you could get sucked out, you could get hurt. The guy's like, all right. Come August, it's like, you're done. And you see it universally. Everybody's fried and things. But so I don't bring that up to like excuse the officer or say that, oh, he's in the right. But I think about from that perspective of me as a lifeguard, say, hey, you come in from the jetty. If that guy says, no, I think I'm allowed to swim here, I'm not coming in. Like, what am I supposed to do? Just walk away? So the police officer in this dynamic, says, hey, where's your beach badge? The guy says, I don't need to show you my beach badge. The officer thinks, yes, you do. Here's Belmar Ordinance 1824 that says, if a member of the police of the borough asks for a badge, you're supposed to show your badge. Is he just supposed to say, well, all right, the guy doesn't want to show me his badge and walk away? It's just a really difficult dynamic.
Yeah, I don't think it's difficult, though, because when you go surfing, you don't have a beach badge. I remember when I refused to buy a daily beach badge. It's just like, we used to call them Benny badges. Like, you know what a Benny is? Benny.
Bayonne, Edison, Newark.
Yeah,
New
Bayonne,
York.
Elizabeth, Newark, New York. Benny is the tourists that would come down to the Jersey Shore in the summer, and you could tell the Benny because they would have the Benny Daily Beach Badge, or now it's a wristband.
wristband, yeah.
So like a local refuses to get one of those because it's just like
It's like a badge of dishonor.
yes, exactly. It's like an embarrassment badge.
Mm-hmm.
It's a badge that says I am not a local. So yeah.
But again, I agree totally on principle that the idea that,
Again, I'm sorry. If we get reviews, it'd be like, Jerry, stop interrupting Mark. But surfers don't wear badges. Like,
of course
you
not.
don't pin a beach badge to a wetsuit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it will ruin the neoprene in the wetsuit. It's just like a thing that's not done.
And also in, 30 plus years of going to the beach, and I'm sure your combined years as well, like, I don't think I've ever once seen a surfer with a beach badge stuck in a wetsuit ever. But
and so they're laughing at us across the country.
So that's what makes this such a strange occurrence. Again, just
that's why I step back and I'm like, what else was going on? Because I know one of the articles in one of the local papers is like, oh, the day before they had issues with surfers as well. But like, what is the kind of buildup to this?
So I think the police chief issued a statement saying that there was an issue with surfers either bypassing the badge checkers or going over the dunes to access the beach in prior days, which again, makes me question, why do we have beach badges in the first place? And secondly, that's an enforcement issue. Doesn't mean that you have to take it out on Mr. Mahoney on this one day when he was at the beach. There's no evidence that he did anything wrong in the past.
That's where training of the officer comes in too. The officer should be trained to be above that.
And you said he was retired, Jerry?
Yeah, he was, as I understand, a retired full-time officer that came back as a Class 2, which is a lower, a summer seasonal special part-time, and can still collect a pension.
Tell you too, just for another context piece, my dad was a special officer. My mom was a badge checker in Seagirt. That's how they met.
Oh wow!
So same thing. Like I'm very connected to the.
So if we never had beach badges,
if we didn't have beach badges, I don't think I'd be here.
But to add to the silliness of all this, with people laughing at us across the country, so the beach closes in some towns at 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock. So if it is 5:01,
yeah.
You don't then need a beach badge. Or a lot of towns will send the badge checkers home early at 4 o'clock or 3 o'clock, and then you don't need a beach badge. So one day you can get arrested for surfing or kicked out of the water. The next day, after Labor Day, it's all gone. Everyone's gone. There's no, there's no lifeguards. There's no badge checkers, and then it's Puerto Rico.
And I brought this up like way earlier on, but Jerry, because you're probably on that text message chain when there's an emergency or something in the ocean after hours. So what happens is the undesirables that originally they were trying to keep out by getting beach badges, just wait until they stop having to have a beach badge, and then the badge checkers are gone, the lifeguards are gone, and if they're not familiar with the ocean, they go out after hours when it's getting dark, when there's no one there to watch, and people get sucked in rip currents, people end up dying. Like that's when like you said, it turns into more of a Puerto Rico where people are drowning and things like that.
Yeah.
It's so...
Do we want to look at these videos and talk about them, or are they just going to upset us more?
Yeah, let's take a look. Let's also mention that there are 2 videos and there are 2 arrests. So Liam Mahoney was arrested. He's the surfer that we've been talking about this whole time on August 20th. Handcuffed, thrown to the ground, thrown to the sand, charged with disorderly persons, resisting arrest, and charged with violation of the municipal ordinance which requires having a beach badge, which I don't think is a valid ordinance. And then in response to that, a Monroe, New Jersey, who has gone to Belmar over the years, is familiar with the area, saw the Mahoney arrest, walks down to Belmar on August 24th, Saturday, bypasses the badge checker intentionally, has an interaction with the police, and then ultimately engages in a peaceful protest on the wet sand and is detained and sent to the hospital for evaluation.
Sent to the hospital for
Did
evaluation.
he ever get charged
He was charged later.
with, do you know what?
Disorderly persons. I'm not sure if he was charged with resisting. He was not charged with violation of the beach badge ordinance.
And
Because-
and the video, he's just sitting right in the tidally float area.
Yeah, so he has a perfect textbook public trust doctrine claim. So he bypasses the badge checker to exert his public trust rights, which are the ability to access the wet sand that everyone in New Jersey has.
Not to mention exercise his constitutional
Yeah.
right to protest and speak peacefully.
Exactly.
I'm
That's-
thinking about like all these historic Supreme Court cases
This
over
is,
the years.
this is
It's
like,
like
the,
a sit-in.
This is like the People's Republic of Belmar.
Yeah, the beach industrial complex.
This guy's like-
So they
Industrial
they
complex.
stopped
This is
him.
crazy.
They stop him, tell him, you can access the beach for free, 3 beaches down in Spring Lake. So he complies. Actually, leaves the Belmar Beach, walks down the
Comes
boardwalk,
back.
goes to the free access in Spring Lake, and then goes to the high tide mark, the wet sand, walks all the way back to where he was on 19th Ave, and then sits down in protest. Which, under the public trust doctrine, you have a right to be there.
See, these days, you know, if someone did something wrong back then, I'm just thinking of like, who was the preacher that had like sex with someone or whatever, and then he was up there crying, apologizing for it, and he's like, I have sinned against you.
I don't know.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. I can't think of the name though. It's not.
Oscar, do you know the name?
It's not one of
All
the
right,
foul laws or something.
Look that up. Oscar's like rolling laughing over here. But and I remember you see the thing, like, be like, I have sinned against you. And he was a preacher that had this enormous church. And he was in a sex scandal. And then he like admitted it and like asked for apology. It seems like today people just double down. Like they double down on it all. So this happens to this surfer. The police chief issues the press statement. Most people, what would you say if you had to take a poll? How many are against what happened, and how many are like in favor of what happened? Did you?
It's Tony Evans.
No, it's
No,
not.
it's not Tony
no,
Evans.
It's not. No, it's
No,
not.
definitely not.
It's a famous one. He's from
It was like the
90s.
late 80s or 90s. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a Netflix
It's like that with
documentary
his
on it, I
wife
think.
and yeah.
But what did I just
You're
say?
saying the poll,
What
basically
percent?
Oh
national
yeah, what
opinion.
so,
percent
like-
would be in favor of the officer and based on this? Would you say based on just anecdotally, like
I think that because we've gotten like national attention on this,
international attention? People, we represent a lot of people from immigrants from Central and South America, and we have people calling from Brazil, being like, "What the heck is wrong in New Jersey?"
Yeah.
Like because
Wow.
Brazil has an awesome surfing culture. You got Gabe Medina, Italo Ferreira, and like Iago Dura and all these great, awesome surfers from Brazil. It's a great surfing culture down there, and they just can't believe what's happening. And then people in England, it's like gone international, this thing.
good. It should bring more attention, and specifically on Belmar. But I think there are two camps of people that are familiar with the ocean, the beach, surfers, fishermen, and they are obviously aghast and horrified at what happened. And then there's a camp of people that believe that anything that the police do is justified and he should not have resisted whatsoever. And there are two camps, and it is what it is. But
Break it down percentage, just if you had a guess, if you took a national most accurate
at least
poll.
what the algorithm has shown to me, because of the people that I deal with on a daily basis, I'd say 75% of the comments I've seen have been pro surfer.
Right. Yeah, I think that's probably about right nationally.
I-
What do you think representing the other side, Mark?
Yeah, as a staunch blue. No, I mean, I think in the court of public opinion and the national consensus, first knee-jerk reaction, I would say probably even maybe more than 75% are pro-surfer, especially people who are like, what in the world is a beach badge?
Yeah.
So, and I don't know. I keep going back to like think about the landmark Supreme Court cases and things, and, people technically may have been violating a law. Like, I feel like this is how change potentially happens, is you have instances like this. Then the guy coming back and sitting and protesting. And, I think that's how that kind of sheds light on things that necessarily aren't fair.
It did. I was telling Andrew that today's Friday, the 30th of August, and we were supposed to put out our third episode with Chris Placitella. But because this issue's so hot, you, Andrew, have preempted putting that episode out. We're going to be putting this episode out pretty quickly. So yeah, it is hot. But going back to like doubling down. So after this happens, and there's a public outcry against what happens, another situation happens a few days after, and they double down, and it's even, in your estimation, a more egregious kind of violation of those rights.
It was really odd how this one went down, the actual detention and arrests. From what I've heard, the borough may have tried to circumvent the public trust doctrine by not arresting this person on the beach, but by putting him into an ATV and having EMS escort him off and then send him to a hospital for a wellness check. I've spoken to this person. He did not need a wellness check. He was not.
Oh, so saying like this isn't an arrest, this is a medical issue,
Exactly.
and so now we're transporting him off the wet sand.
There's something sketchy going on here.
What?
So if you type in Andrew L. Chambarry, Chambarry in YouTube, your channel will come up, and then these videos, everyone can go on there. If we can put that in the show notes too, Oscar, please. Should we show the video of the protester?
Yeah, let's show the protester.
All right, and then maybe you can. Is it good, Oscar? Are we seeing it? Is it working? I'm seeing it here.
Yeah, I mean, you won't see it.
But the people can see it?
Yeah.
All right, so we're playing that off Andrew's website, off his YouTube channel. And you can just, if you want to stop, just tell me, I'll pause it. If you want to say anything.
Yeah, so it looks like this guy is just peacefully sitting down in the wet sand.
Yeah.
Where you have what we've talked about before, public trust rights, the right to access the tidelands in New Jersey, and by law you're allowed to be there without a beach badge. So why are they surrounding him is the question, and what are they checking for?
I mean, there's I'm counting 1, 2, 3 or 4 full-time well, I'm not going to say heavily armed, but properly armed officers surrounding a guy for sitting in the area. What was the guy from the Byzantine Empire that said he should be able to sit there like that? Justinian, who is probably one of the most ruthless, people. And now we have 4 officers surrounding this guy.
Yeah, and you said, Jerry, to your point about like doubling down
Yeah.
and things, I feel like then it becomes, and again, you see it so much in society, like the side of what's right and what's wrong, and
Yeah.
it becomes a political pressure cooker.
Okay. now what's happening?
So now this
With the People's Republic of Belmar.
Now this guy is sitting Indian style, and the police have picked him up under both arms and are carrying him physically off of the wet sand that he has a legal right to access. This is just Twilight Zone 1984 style imagery that we're looking at.
I'm like fascinated with North Korea. Like I have all these North Korea videos coming up in my feed. Like there's these people who are tapping into North Korean television, and just like it's according to those videos, it's a total like wonderland place to live. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Like it's beautiful. Everyone's happy.
Oh, but
they got this awesome leader that's so loving.
Have you seen the stuff with like the grocery stores though, where they put up like basically cardboard of like there's all these things in here, and you go in there and it's empty?
Yeah.
But then I've seen other videos from North Korea, and this one is reminding me of it, where people are just being like removed from public for God knows what. Like Tank Man in China. Tank Man, the guy that like
Square.
no one ever saw him again ever since that video. Do we have proof of life of this guy?
Yes.
We do? Okay, good.
I have spoken with this person.
Do you know, and Andrew, maybe if you're betraying any confidences or anything, you don't need to say, but like, do you know what the motivation was for him coming down to Belmar?
He saw what happened to Liam.
Yeah. And he disagrees with the beach badge ordinance and the public trust doctrines.
One of the funniest things from the video, I mean, the video is not funny, but it's so sad it's funny. The body cam video is the officer's like, put down that surfboard, like as though the surfboard's a deadly weapon. And I was thinking, like, what's this coming to? It's like, put down that beach pail, you know, or like put down the flip flops. Like, this is the beach.
The old adage, surfing is not a crime.
Yeah.
Wow. I think you got a bumper sticker revival there.
And they put him in the back of a
beach ATV.
Because you know this guy is a real public threat. Like he's Oscar, what do you think of all this? Come on, turn your mic on. Give us your perspective.
Well, first of all, I like the North Korea allusion. It just reminded me of the movie The Interview, where you have little James Franco, and then he's like watching there. He's like, oh, you see the fat Korean kid, he's well fed and, nourished. And he goes in the grocery store, and like Mark's saying, it's literally just pieces of cardboard that are there. It's not like actual food or anything like that. I think with this guy, just like, it's the same scare tactic, right? It's about fear. You want the public to conform to your rules, to conform to what you want them to. You don't want to be looked as the actor that's incorrect here. Because if you let this guy sit there, in their minds are saying you're letting them win. You're letting them tell you that whatever they thought was basically correct. So you come up with whatever BS excuse to get him out on the beach. And I think that with this guy, I think it's not even about being righteous or anything. I think it's just demonstrating to what cruelty we as just human beings are doing these like acts of just like transporting this guy, like grabbing him up from the wet sand just to adhere to a beach badge policy. Like, it's like there's so many issues that are going wrong in so many different aspects of life, and beach badges is what the main issue is of police brutality, essentially, or not police, because they're not police officers, but like beach police officers brutality nowadays.
What's crazy is this guy is complying. Are we allowed to say his name or whatever? Or do we know his?
Yeah, I wouldn't say his name yet.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. That's fine.
But Oscar, to your point, it kind of becomes a like, how dare you? Like, how dare you challenge
that? It becomes personal. It's like a personal thing.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't. And that's why
it was Jerry Falwell, I'm pretty sure.
I think that was what I had thought, but I'm not positive.
Yeah, it was
so
Jerry
three
Falwell
things: mammals, Witch Roosevelt, and then
Jerry Falwell gave
Teddy.
the heartfelt apology, but it appears so far there's been doubling down on this situation.
Yeah.
But that's why I asked before, kind of like, and I'm maybe too solution focused and things, but it becomes like, well, what is the solution? Like, how can we, have the public trust doctrine implemented correctly? How can we go about making sure that Belmar's ordinance is in compliance with that?
Get rid of beach badges.
Get rid of beach badges. Let's invalidate the Belmar ordinance. And, I think organizations like the Littoral Society need to kind of step up in this situation. I know they're working behind the scenes to ask for the DEP to step in and show Belmar what they should be doing in the softest way possible.
Maybe here's what we should do. Why don't we just eliminate the requirement for beach badges in Belmar?
Yeah, right.
Just so Belmar doesn't get the revenue for beach badges anymore. How about that?
Make an example of Belmar.
Can we do that? All right. Anyway, hypothetical question. So we press play. Is there anything more to see in this video? How can people? You're doing a petition. You want to tell us about the petition you're doing to get rid of beach badges and how people can access that, and who's been supporting your petition so far?
Yeah. So after Liam was arrested, I thought it would be a good idea to start a petition to see if there were other supporters of actually eliminating beach badges in general, because both of these issues just highlight a broader discussion that we need to have on why are we paying for the beach? Do we need to pay for the beach in the first place? Are there alternate funding sources? And I created a petition on change.org. So if you go to change.org today, you can search decriminalize NJ beach access, and you'll see a petition which today has over 2,200 signatures. It was signed by Kelly Slater, pro surfer, and shared by him on his Instagram, and also shared by Tulsi Gabbard on her Instagram, who are supporting it.
Not to cut you off,
No, I'm not.
Jerry. I'll cut you off
Yeah,
too.
exactly.
Even it out, but like
Taste my own medicine.
no. So I just think about, and again, maybe too much to my own perspective, but like I live in Wall Township, and in Wall Township, there's a lot of open land, there's a lot of schools. So my taxes in Wall Township are somewhat higher than they are in a town like Spring Lake or Seagirt, where there's not as many schools. And I feel like that's kind of typical for beach communities. So what's the harm in just spreading the cost of this, public trust doctrine, this public beach access amongst those municipalities? Just, Jerry might not like that, being a resident of a beach town, but like, what's the harm of spreading it out, like you said, with an upfront, just part of the taxes rather than these beach badges, like all these other states seem to do?
Yeah, that, and there are other kind of more ingenious ways that we can think of using taxes or bonds in the future. I mean, I don't like paying the tolls on the Parkway, but if you increase the fees on the Parkway from Memorial Day to Labor Day, everyone coming from Philly, New York, North Jersey, they'd be more, they would be inadvertently contributing to the beaches that they're going to if we used a portion of that in some respect. Or, if I think I saw one comment on Facebook, it was like, increase the every beer that's sold in Belmar over the summer 1/4, and it'll pay for all the lifeguards.
beat the clock goes up by 1/4.
The lifeguards are great, by the way. I mean, for the most part, there's bad apples everywhere, but the lifeguards are great. I mean, the amount of lives they save, and every once in a while, someone drowns on the Jersey Shore while lifeguards are on duty, but it is few and far between. And so many deaths and drownings are prevented without even saves, just by blowing those annoying whistles and moving people over and things like that.
And I think I said I go to Belmar Beach now. I marvel at the Belmar Beach lifeguards, the amount that they have going on. And I think we've talked about, like, I lifeguarded in Spring Lake. Jerry, you're still there. Like, that beach is a cakewalk compared to what I see going on in Belmar. And it's not a cakewalk, but just the crowds that go to Belmar, people who are not familiar with the beach that go right to Belmar. So they've got a tough job, certainly.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone's advocating to remove or defund lifeguards. We need lifeguards, especially in crowded beaches. It's just, it's shocking to see fully uniformed, armed police officers on the beach. And then my thing is, can we turn this into at least a discussion about how to alternatively fund lifeguards and beach maintenance, rather than me taking out my wallet and paying $10 when I get to the beach?
I think the beach rake, though, we could probably save some money.
Yeah, let's get rid of the beach rake.
The beach rake, because of the silica and the industrial machinery plowing down the beach at
Andrew, I'm sure you haven't gone like municipal statute by municipal statute, but is Belmar's municipal statute, is that like the norm, or is that an outlier with some of the language they have there?
So at least in my experience from dealing with various municipalities over the last 9-10 years, I know that Long Branch allows surfers and fishermen free access pretty much up and down their coast. Even Deal, one of the biggest anti-access municipalities that I've had to literally file lawsuits over, they now agree that surfers and fishermen are free access. Some towns have designated surfing beaches like Asbury and Spring Lake, where the surfer pays for a beach badge, but there's a guarded beach there specifically for surfers. A lot of people don't necessarily agree with that, but if you're using their services, like we talked about with the beach fee statute before, technically they can charge.
Listen, I'm the biggest advocate. I think you should be able to surf on pretty much every beach. I think there should be more surfing beaches than swimming beaches, and I feel that oftentimes hoarding the surfers together on one designated beach is more dangerous because now it's more crowded and all that. But I don't agree that surfers do not need or utilize the services of lifeguards. in Manasquan a couple of years ago. A surfer, I mean, there's surfers and then there's surfers, you know. A surfer fell, hit his head or something, and the lifeguard saving his life is on that surfer's GoPro, actually doing CPR to him. I believe it was in Manasquan. I remember way back in the day, Danny Sullivan was surfing at Remsen Avenue in Spring Lake, and this guy cut his calf. His calf was hanging out, and the surfers, or the lifeguards, took care of that too. But surfers, as I said, especially are in many surfers are the lifeguards in many ways after the actual lifeguards leave. I've made several saves on my surfboard.
Yeah, and I think there should be some kind of exception in the beach fee statute for anglers, fishermen, and specifically for surfers, because it's something that it's a historical hobby that has such a passion and huge following in New Jersey. You have entire towns that are dedicated to as surf towns, right?
Yeah.
So there needs to be some kind of exception carved out specifically for surfers and for fishermen, I think.
I don't think there should be exceptions. I think
Just
there should be no beach badges. That's what I think. You
Yeah.
know?
But
it's kind of crazy.
But at the least, follow the letter of the law and don't pass municipal ordinances that go against the common law and what's been around since, the 500s.
Yeah, at least just follow the public trust doctrine. That's what we can do. That's what we have on the books, right?
So what's next? With the 24-hour news cycle and things kind of coming up, people are going to forget about this in a week or two. Is there anything that's going on?
Are we good on this video, or is there anything other? Oh my God! There's
Just
more
him
in the
getting
video.
dragged more.
Oh, we need to see this video more. All right, so let's press play. This is on Andrew's YouTube channel. So he's sitting in the back. Why is he? What happens then?
Somehow he ends up on the ground.
So we talk about court of public opinion, though. There's people applauding. I'm sure someone called that in.
Yeah.
Now, what exactly did he do wrong again? But if he's getting arrested, he must have done something wrong.
See, but look at this. Watch. This guy's all happy, coming up, clapping.
What? We don't know who he's clapping for, though.
Yeah, what is he being arrested for?
That's what I'm wondering. Did they do a press release on that one?
No, that one didn't get as much press as the initial Liam Mahoney arrest, the
Yeah.
surfer.
I saw that video actually before I saw the full video of the surfer.
Okay.
All right, Oscar, we can take that off the screen or whatever. Is it off the screen?
Continue it. We'll block it off.
All right, cool.
So I had gone to what's next? So guy goes and sits in the wet sand. Is that it?
Yeah, so I mean, these guys have court dates. September 11th, they may or may not be pushed off. They're being represented by counsel. But in terms of, the petition and what's going on with the public push to make a change, someone who is not associated with the petition, and I don't know, organized a paddle out in Belmar on 2nd Ave, September 2nd, I believe.
That's Monday, Memorial Day.
Monday, Memorial Day, at 8:30.
Or Labor Day. Sorry, Labor Day.
Labor Day.
Yeah.
8:30 a.m. So there's a flyer circulating on Facebook for that, and then at the same time, there's also some type of rally that will take place at 18th and 19th Ave, where these incidents occurred, around 9:30 a.m. on Labor Day.
All right, so Oscar, we got to put the link to the flyer. So there's going to be a paddle out. I assume the guys and gals will go on the boardwalk with surfboards, exercise their Justinian given right to walk across the sand to the water, paddle out.
Let's see how many get arrested.
I mean, they shouldn't arrest any of them.
No, they shouldn't.
They
But
should not.
this seems to be the Belmar prerogative now, so we'll see what happens. I think it needs to be tested.
This too. I know Belmar Pro-Am's coming up, I think, in like 2 weeks, like a little surf competition. Not a little surf competition, an awesome surf competition. I'm sure this will be an issue at that.
Yeah, I know Epic Shirts is a company. They sell Beach Badges Are a Crime t-shirts. They made some specifically for the Belmar Pro. They'll be selling those if you go down there.
Is there an ordinance that there's no negative speech about beach badges?
Yeah.
Well, apparently Belmar doesn't appreciate First Amendment rights, so we'll see what happens.
So we don't need to watch I mean, what should have happened here instead? I mean, I think nothing should have happened. He shouldn't have been approached for any reason.
This should be a non-issue. We shouldn't even be here talking about it, right?
Yeah, there's too many potentially missteps, I feel like, that led to this even being a situation. Like, should there even be a law on the books that goes against the common law? And then should that be getting enforced the way that it was enforced? Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what the public is now asking is investigate Belmar, change the ordinance that we believe is invalid, and then ultimately rethink why we need beach badges in New Jersey.
Yeah, and going back to the cases I cited, now the forum for all this stuff to play out is in the courts, like one way or the other.
Well, but it's not only in the courts, it's also public advocacy
100%,
is
you're
important.
right.
Because like you were saying with Deal, it wasn't just the court that did it, it was the public outcry, the organization, and all the efforts that you did. It's more than just the courts.
Big
right?
time, and you're absolutely right with that. That's why I even bring up, hey, what's going on with the surfing community, the beach community? What's happening that's going to make this, I guess, as much of a public issue as it should be?
Yeah.
Because you're right, it's not just the courts. For those two gentlemen, it's going to be the court system. For the public at large, what can we do to kind of make a difference? And I think you talked about a lot of those things.
Yeah, and maybe one day we'll bring back the public advocate and we'll have someone on our side in a place of power that can advocate on behalf of the public.
And then you can concentrate on getting better, more awesome results for people that got in, accidents and civil justice, and then you wouldn't have to spend so much time on this pro bono work, making the beach available to everyone as Justinian intended.
I got to tell you, the history of the public advocate for those interested, just because it wasn't just Christie, established in 1974, looks like eliminated in 1994, reinstated in 2005, and eliminated again in 2011. Has not been reinstated since. So,
cool. Is there anything else that you want to touch on? Are we good? I mean, I think we kind of we talked about dolphins, mammals,
the Roosevelts,
Jerry Falwell,
Byzantine Empire.
So, Byzantine. Yeah. So we hit all this stuff on our script.
I'm happy you guys brought me on here. I'm always stoked to talk about beach access. We could probably go on for a couple more hours onto different extraneous examples of municipal overreach and oversight and advocacy, but yeah. Well,
interesting to see what happens.
I think Churchill said, I've said this before on this podcast, like when Washington won the Revolution, he gave the democracy. He goes, "Here's your democracy. Good luck with it as long as you can keep it." And I think that's kind of apropos for today. And then also, someone said the price of freedom is eternal vigilance, which is why I was asking you. I'm like, hey, they're on the books, so now we're good. We don't have to do anything. But no, it's important for justice to stand up what's right. It takes constant vigilance. You have to constantly keep our elected officials honest. You have to stay on them. You have to stand up for your rights, because if you don't, they're just, what was the guy that was just trying to get oysters at the bay in 1821?
Mundy.
Yeah. Otherwise the Mundys of the world, if he didn't have a lawyer to advocate for him, then what was the guy's name? Armstrong or?
Arnold.
Then the Arnolds of the world are going to do that. And you always need people like Andrew doing your awesome public advocacy work and your awesome personal injury work on behalf of, victims to kind of keep our democracy going and to stand up for what's right, so that you can go to the beach and listen to the seagulls and the waves crashing and find sand crabs without fear that you're going to get, I'm sorry, I laugh every time I say it, put in a headlock and body slammed into the sand while a child and the girlfriend in her bikini is screaming. It's just, that's not. But Belmar's a great town otherwise, and I really mean that. It's not like this is all Belmar. Belmar's a great place to come. It's a great beach. most of the officers in Belmar do a great job most of the time, and it's a great place to come. I don't want to in any way sour all of Belmar or all of that just by this kind of dumb situation that happened.
Yeah, agreed.
Yep. Things happen up and down the coast all the time. It's just we're focused on this right now, and like you said, Jerry, got to stay vigilant, or else you'll get your head put in the sand.
Awesome. Don't stick your head in the sand.
Yeah.
And or otherwise,
Unless it's in the wet sand.
Unless it's in the wet sand.
Otherwise, you may be put in the sand. All right, that was corny. All right, awesome. Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you,
you.
Andrew.